Welcome to Insights. I'm Eric. Thanks for stopping by. Today, we're going to talk about the company or the CO matrix. It's been running side by side with the regular matrix for years. I've been using it, following largely the technology big cap names. There are others that add stuff to it periodically. The names you can see here, mostly from 1 through about down to Tesla or 11, are pretty static. Others come and go. I add things periodically below. We're kind of just seeing how this will work out as familiarity grows within the regular matrix. This company matrix will provide the same type of beneficial insights minus the energy builds, because you can't get them for the DIs are lacking, at least in this case for equity markets, because they don't trade on the commodity exchanges. There's no futures contracts for them, so they don't report the same data. If anything comes by, I will incorporate it. I haven't found anything that's useful yet. It has to be relevant. It has to be timely. And most importantly, it has to show some forecasting ability. If it doesn't enhance the odds better than 50-50, I won't include it. But so far, we're just doing it without it. We use the Pro Index. I recommend you use them as well. They should link up to all the securities that are in here. You can see who's doing the professional buying, who's doing retail buying. You want to follow the pros in general, and you want to make sure that the pros are buying anything that you're participating in. The concepts are exactly the same. The primary trend, we follow them. You can see all these primary trends have been up for a long time, with the exception of Alibaba. There's lots of profits here, lots of red boxes, because there's a lot of primary trend decline 1 and 2. Because there's no energy, we're not going to be allowed to nibble against those primary trends. You can anticipate a little bit if you want to nibble through using the pro charts. Find out, in this case, a lot of these trends are up, but they're extremely old. If the pros are starting to sell ahead of price, it's a warning that they're stepping in, and then they can follow the nibbling process. But the same other phases within the evolution of the trade follow. There's the flip, and then we have resets, and then again, as you can see here, we have primary trend declines. So everything looks exactly the same as the other matrix, and I think familiarity with the other matrix is growing enough that we can introduce this, or at least beta test this to some degree, to find out if people are ready to use it. We have a couple that are interested, and therefore I'm doing this quick review to help talk through some of the basic components. One of the question is what is one of the better markets within this update, which was updated on 8.3. And by the way, the computer will update these. I have it scheduled to update them on Wednesday and Saturday, and anything that shows up in between. And if it does, I will try and make a note. You can go and look at it. If you see if there's no signals here in the phase that have changed from one day to the next, there's no reason to update. It's pretty much steady as she goes. This takes a lot of extra computing time, and the computing time with the other matrix takes a priority as well. So I don't want to overwhelm my limited computing capabilities. So we'll keep it updated at least twice a week, maybe a little bit more. We'll see. It would be ad hoc though. The computer's going to download the daily every day, and it scans for anything that's significant. Most changes come in the daily first, and they will always run around the flips from 1 week to the next. So the Friday update's important, and we'll always run it before we flip to the next month to see what's going to happen. But there's nothing of consequence. So of the question of which market looks the best, there's a couple resets that are taking place. There's R5 for NVDA, and there's R9 for Facebook. Same way to read this out as before. NVIDIA is 5 days old. You think it's good, but it's already labeled mid-cycle. It's mid-cycle because X bar here is 0.24. That's a bit high, so the computer doesn't like it and scores it mid-cycle. Really, the best play is probably Facebook. It's early cycle. It's triple up. The X bar is minus 0.55. So, it's because this reset's clean. This is not very old in terms of the weekly, and the monthly on Facebook is relatively benign. And I hate to have any opinions about any of the stocks, so I won't say anything. And I hate to want to be long Facebook because of what they represent oftentimes out there in the world, what they're doing in the world of social media. but I wouldn't be surprised that this one does quite well into the rally because it's triple up, it's relatively early, and the composite score is early. When the composite score starts to get to mid-cycle, closes above 0.51, or gets old, you'll know. And if you're buying this, or you bought it 9 days ago, which you couldn't because we just came out with the matrix introduction, but if you did, watch these cycle scores here. You're going to watch this is the price cycle, just like the other matrix. This is the time cycle. You're looking for red readings, red and bold, similar to this here. Aptar has been down for quite a bit, and it's been down for almost 53 days, which is 4 standard deviations. So if you've been riding this one short against the primary uptrend, it's time to take profits there. But in general, Facebook will probably do well until these cycles get old. So that's really how this sets up. You can also use seasonality as well. That's all right in here. Plays out very, pretty much the same. I'd use the geometric forecast and enter your coils in. Click these links, find out. See, there's some of mine that I've written down, and I'll probably take them out here as I post these things. I don't want to confuse everyone with the things that I'm scribbling in. So, but I put this link here. I will leave these up if I do a specific review that lays out their importance. But if you click the geo forecast link and you put in highs and lows and you try and play them according to when the time frames are good or seasonality, they're good. They're good times for taking profits. In terms of Facebook, we've identified that as one of the better ones. It's going to do well, and it does pretty well in August. It does struggle between September and October. So if you're in this and you've made some money, or if you make some money going in the calendar flips, it's usually not too bad to take some money off the table when we get into these weak periods and just sit to the sidelines. You can play the primary trend, but Facebook's primary trend has been up for 29 months, 82%, which is a lot. There's a lot of these things are making a lot of money, so you can't say, oh, I bought the flip and bought the core, because I didn't introduce this long enough for you guys to follow that. The other things apply too. Watch for compression, highly compressed trend. There's a couple down here. These tend to be miners, and I think this one's a uranium. Energy fields is uranium mining. So these are all plays. These are all things. These might change out, but this really runs the same as it was before. Following the primary trend is pretty profitable. There's, of all these here, 14 have produced a profit of 273 on average, with the top 5 or the top 5% producing 600%, which is pretty high. And that's what it does. It pays to follow the primary trend. It does that in the regular matrix as well as the company matrix. So while you watch this, and keep in mind that all the techniques and everything's the same. If you notice anything that's unusual or any errors, let me know. We're still in the beta testing for this year, and we're going to see how many people are really interested in this. If we don't have a lot of interest, I probably won't incorporate it until 2022. We'll probably just leave it out. So thanks for watching, and let me know if there's anything up.